Network Entertainment.
And welcome to my podcast, the RJ Ledesma Podcast. In my podcast, I like to interview entrepreneurs and business owners to learn more about how they think about doing business, what are their success secrets, and can we replicate them in our own businesses? Lastly, we want to find out what business opportunities do they see emerging in the near future. And over here, I have a truly interesting guest. I'd like to welcome my very good friend over here, Mahesh Mirpuri. Mahesh, welcome to the RJ Ledesma Podcast.
Hey, thank you very much for having me, bro. It's great to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you over here. And Mahesh, allow me to humble brag for you before we begin the program, before we continue with the podcast. So number one, Mahesh is the outgoing president, and he's been there for about 2 years, 3 years.
1.5.
1.5 years.
now.
He's been the head of the Federation of Indian Chamber of Commerce of the Philippines.
That's correct.
And he was also the former president as well of the Entrepreneurs Organization.
Yeah,
right?
that's also correct. Yeah.
And he's got several businesses which he runs. And the interesting thing is why we're doing this right now is because Mahesh invited me for a gym date in his house.
Yeah, so that's a new journey that I came up with, right? If I can explain a little
Yeah,
bit
tell
about
us a
it.
bit more about that one. We talked. It was like doing exercise and talking business at the same time.
Yeah, so I woke up one day and I stopped going out at night and I've lost connection with people. So I said, what if I build this beautiful new gym at home? I had a small one where I worked out alone. And I said, what if I could invite people I've lost connection with and do one-on-one dates with them, serve them amazing coffee, kill it in the gym, and just get to connect. And I realized that I can learn so much about a person more over coffee than I can over a drink. And it's just been an incredible journey. I've done this since last year, and I've had maybe about 25 or 30 dates now with people, and you were the last one.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
It's it's an hour of conversation where I tell them a little bit about what's going on in my life, but I also use it as an opportunity to learn from them. And you yourself were there, so you saw what it was like.
And myself as an entrepreneur, the value that I saw for it now is that, number one, network is your net worth, right? That's for me. And I think the same for you, right? That's why you do these things, that, the ability to better understand people, to focus in on what they do and really have a great conversation, not only opens up great personal growth where you see how you guys connect, but also great professional growth to see at what areas can we converge, at what areas can we collaborate and do business together. And you can also see if the values are okay between
correct.
you guys,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah, correct. Exactly. I mean, sometimes it's about business, sometimes it's about life, sometimes it's about, anything under the sun. We could plan a trip together. It could be anything like that.
Yeah.
But it's always about learning. It's always being about true to yourself and learning how to be open with each other.
And what's very interesting is that you weren't always this type of personality.
No.
I guess you really blossomed into it, and that's really going to be the heart of the story that we're going to tell about in this podcast. But before that one, like I said, you were a prolific businessman. You're also a serial entrepreneur. Tell us a bit more about you being the president of the federation. You're fairly young. You're youngish, diba? You're fairly young to be heading an organization of, you've got Filipino Indian entrepreneurs who are very established and older, but you're the one being put to head this organization. Tell us a bit more about that.
So I served on the chamber board 2018 to 2020. I had to step back because after that I was going to be president of EO in 21, 22. Later on, our chairman, our past president came to me and said, I think it's time. I thought about it a lot, and the reason I decided at the end of the day, so I went to my parents and I spoke to them about it. And obviously, when you tell your parents that there's it's a very prominent position to have, and both my parents were very, very ecstatic. My wife, on the other hand, not so happy, because obviously when you do things like this, the one thing though that you lose is time. I have 3 little kids. But I asked her a question, right? I said, 47, 57, 67. She looked at me and said, what is that? And I'm like, do you see me as president in the next 20 years? She goes, yeah, I'm sure of it. I said, then why not now? Why not when I actually can do more? Why not when I have more in me today to make a difference than I would at 57 or 67. So she finally agreed, reluctantly, but we came in, had a lot of different ideas. We grew 30 members in our first year. I think that's the highest growth of the chamber in the history of the chamber. It's the oldest chamber in the country. It's 72 years old. I came in and I said, guys, I want to bring to the member what they can take back to their business to grow it. Yes, we meet politicians. Yes, we work with government. Yes, these are great things. But I want to give them the gift of what can we help you improve your business. So we had an EOS talk. We talked about change. We had a speaker from Dubai. We had a BIR event. How can we help you? We all deal with things like this. So it's been a great journey. It's changed. I get a lot of compliments, but the journey's not over. I serve as president till Feb end, then I serve as chairman. But it's nice to see things going well, and it's been exciting for us.
What's the biggest thing that you've picked up from having to run? Because there's obviously, I mean, in such an established chamber, there are things that are in place already that you've had to work with. Sometimes you're happy with it, sometimes you're not too happy with it. You're working with different personalities. You bring in things. What did you learn as a leader here in the chamber?
At the end of the day, you're only as good as the people around you. So it's really my board. You got to pick them well. And then the one thing also you got to do is you got to let them run with the ball, right? Many a times, micromanaging leaders is very hard to do. Actually, I'm sorry, it's impossible to do. You got to trust your gut, but you also got to shoot from the hip. So if you see something that you don't like, you need to tell them straight. Maybe not in public, but we have to be very, very understanding with what needs to be done to be able to make a difference. And I think in the past, people were scared to speak their mind. And I'm glad that I have a great team. We come together. We know what we're responsible for. If you're telling me about the past, I think it's sad, but it was kind of the younger generation didn't want to come in and step up, and they didn't look at the chamber with respect. But I think we're able to change that now. When they come in, they go to these different events that they're like, wow, I actually walked away and I can actually do something tomorrow that will impact my life. And that's for me the biggest change that I see, because 72 years chamber, that means it's a generational change. We have second gens, third gens coming into the business. And at the end of the day, these are the guys that are going to run their parents' business. So they need to step in, and they need to be the future leaders of the community and of the chamber as well. So I see that slowly happening now. So I'm excited for what's in store for the future.
For those who might not be too aware, when you look at the Indian Chamber of Commerce, this is really Indians who have really incorporated into the Philippines and then become part. They are part of the Indian diaspora, but they're also Filipino. They're also Indian here at the same time. What are the type of? Give me an idea of just how big the Filipino-Indian business community over here is.
No, it's very big, because there's two aspects of this, right? You have your third gens, you have your second gens, but you also have a lot of expats who have come in. Many people are in the BPO industry. We even have the visa center that's run by an Indian. We have a lot of ADB people who are Indian. So it's a very big community, and we are open to everybody, right? So it's not that it's just the second gens or the third gens. No, it's even the new guys that move here to start a business or join a company. We are more than happy to adhere, because at the end of the day, we're also a tight-knit community. So when I grew up, a lot of my friends are still Indian, and it's also very nice to be with your community. But it's not like we're only with them, and we also welcome Filipino partners into our chamber as well. So we are open to everybody, to be honest with you.
Help me appreciate the evolution of the community, which I find very interesting, because sometimes there were traditional businesses which they entered into, and they're very strong. It's like we look at specifically maybe sometimes in garments, or sometimes in my mind glasses, right? It's an Indian community. How did it exactly develop that there were specific areas that became very popular? Then eventually, what's it evolving to right now?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the Filipino-Indian businessman really was a trader, right? When everybody came here, it was about first it was my whole family. We're still in manufacturing of apparel. We import and distribute ceramics and glassware to hotels, restaurants, and retail.
Mm-hmm.
But it's what people do. A lot of them were in electronics distribution. So it's really about trading, right? It's about, I consider the Indian a negosyante, right? So they're very good at talking, salespeople, negotiating, sourcing, and things like that, right? So how it's changed is now tech, right? So a lot of the BPOs, data involved, data driven companies, a lot of them, like Wipro is a big Indian company that's here. So it's really changing, right? Tech seems to be where things are going and helping. A lot of medical also is very big in the Indian community because, as you know, one of the biggest suppliers in the world of medical equipment and medicines is India, right? So that's another place that's also helping the country by bringing costs of medicines down.
Very interesting. So you're heading this chamber, which is really great. But before that, you were also the president of Entrepreneurs Organization. Now,
Yes.
not many people might be aware, but it's a very prestigious organization. Tell us a bit more about what is EO.
Oh wow! So if you really want the truth, I'll tell you the truth. I got married in 2009, and in 2012, a friend of mine, Raymond Rufino of the Net Group, who
That's
you know
right.
as well, came up to me and said, "You got to join this org." And I'm like, "Dude, I've got no time. I'm so busy. I have new family, children, business." He kept on coming to me and he kept on asking me, and I said, "Okay, you know what? I'm gonna come in, and this sounds like a party, and we'll meet people. You'll socialize." Man, was I wrong. I was just completely wrong. I came into this thing and I was like, wow, it's like it's working with people and you can drop your guard. You can discuss your issues and, trust that nothing leaves the four walls of the room that you're in when you go into a forum. And it was just crazy because I never knew how to talk that way. I lived in fear. I lived in judgment. And I didn't know how to handle that. But later on, I realized that A, they teach you about how to be not judged. B, it's all about learning what can improve. They bring in speakers. And I'm like, wow, I never got to do an MBA. I used EO as my MBA. I used it to change my business, improve my business, fix things inside that I could never have done without it. And it just absolutely changed my life. EO is great for my wife, for myself. And I just got to do so many things, travel to so many places. Then later on, I got on the board, which I was like, I don't think I deserve to be on the board, right? So when I was asked to be on the board, I mean, if you had asked me, Mahesh, 7 years later, would you be the president? And I look back at my life and I was like, no way in hell. I was a bit out there, man. I enjoyed a certain part of my life to the best of my ability, right? So I really enjoyed in more ways than one. But EO just showed me that there is more out there. Learning, understanding, not being judged is just something that I never imagined.
Wow, fantastic. So
Yeah.
the insights that sort of gained you to sort of like a personal and professional growth for you and for the business and a lot of prominent members in EO here in the country as well. But what I'm curious to find out, like for example, for the people watching or listening to the podcast, what were some of the key things that you picked up that you can share with entrepreneurs and business owners that you think they'll also benefit from, that you gained from your participation in EO?
I came from a world where when we started our business, there were no computers. When we started putting computers, we would have like 3 in the middle of the office and everyone would go there to enter their stuff, right? And today, who doesn't have a laptop?
Exactly.
Everybody. But this is how it was. So as things improved, we went into technology and then we started buying software to run our businesses. And I thought, once you buy a software, your business will fly. That's not true. That's not true. You need systems, processes, and things like shout outs, culture, values. And I'm looking at myself saying, what? All I did before was buy A, sell B, And I was happy. But that's not it. Today, you live in a world where you need to manage your people. You need to make them feel good at work. And this is one of the biggest learnings that I had in my life. And like today, we run not on a program. We have our program, but we run on a system, not a software called EOS, which is the Entrepreneurial Operating System. It's a global system, and it has nothing to do with the computer. It's about tools. It's how you talk to your managers. It's how you have morning huddles. It's about how you have your weekly meetings. It's about having level down meetings. All these things. I didn't even know what to do. But I went through the process. It took me 2 years to implement. But today, I can go to work and I don't need to tell people anymore what to do. Finally, I have accountability in my office, which is just incredible. I've never had that before. So that's for me been the biggest change.
Fantastic. And this EOS, from my understanding, it's something that you can actually, it's a system that you can actually enroll into. Is that correct?
You know what? You don't need to. It's a book. It was created by a guy named Gino Wickman, called Traction. And it has everything in the book. But yes, it's not so easy to self-implement. There are implementers in the country as well and around the world. So yes, they guide you. They teach you. You do a 2-day planning, then you do a quarterly meeting, then you do a weekly meeting. It helps open up the issues that are there. Like one of the things that we do is called IDSing. So it's identify the issue, discuss it openly, and then find the solution. It sounds crazy and sounds so simple, but many people don't do it. Many people don't do it, right? They just, instead of putting out fires, we have to become better at not letting the fire happen.
Got that.
So those are one of the biggest things that I've been using now for almost 5 to 6 years.
Very interesting. And what for me is sort of like the culmination of how much you've learned and how much you've, I guess, done a lot of your self-improvement is that when you were in the chambers, that's right, we were talking about this in our gym date, that you were in one of the chambers, so one of these elder Indian gentleman came up to you and said, "Can I introduce you to my son?" And you were asking why. Tell me, but tell the story.
Okay, so this is interesting. So I'm, obviously now I am the president at the time, in which I still am today. And somebody comes up to me and says, "Hey, Mahesh, how are you?" And me being the president, of course, elderly gentleman, very respectful. "I'm well. How can I help you?" Is how I always reply. And suddenly he says, "Yeah, meet my son. I want you to meet my son and talk to him." And I'm like, "Okay, why?" All right, no disrespect, but tell me. And he said something to me that just shook the ground I was walking on. He said, "Mahesh, no disrespect, but you went from being the biggest idiot in our community because of, obviously I there was a point in my life where I would party a little bit or a lot. Maybe I'm not going to lie. And then suddenly he says, now you are one of the most respected people in the community. Where did that come from? How did it happen?" And he was going through something with his son. So he just wanted me to meet him and, talk to him and see. And I did. And that's it, right? If you talked to me in 2013 and you told me to do this, I would not do this. I would live in a shell. I would hide everything that I was or am. But today, I have nothing to hide. I know that I'm a product of where I came from. But I also know that I can use it to my advantage to be better tomorrow than I am today. And I have nothing to hide anymore. So for me, no one's perfect. There's no such thing, right? But your past should not prevent you from being better in your future. Your past is your past. Never regret it. Accept it. Thank it. It will not only make you better, it will teach you what is in store for you. So I sat there and I'm okay. So I was a little taken aback, but it's true. I stand today here and I speak to you, and you've known me for a long time.
That's right.
Do I look like the same person? Do I act like the same person? No.
Hardly. That's why it's like you're talking to Mahesh 2.0.
I don't mind. Yeah, so it's interesting, right? I wanted to. It's been a journey, and I think everybody's on a journey. Everyone has their own journey.
And this journey for you, did it begin with your participation in EO? That what made you change?
That was a really big turning point in my life, because I had, I walked into rooms and I was scared.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many people of big business around me, and I thought I was nobody. And I was like, I don't fit in.
Mm-hmm.
I feel out of place. But they welcomed me with open arms. It was like, wow, what's going on? Why are people talking to me this way? And why are people respecting me? I'm nobody.
Mm-hmm.
But that's wrong. We are all equal, right? There is nobody higher up than me or anybody lower than me. Suddenly I realized that we need to treat everybody with the same amount of respect. And that's what happened, right? So today I was like, wow, I can do that to everyone else too. I mean, when I walked in 2013, I was the newbie. I mean, you think 12 years later, I feel like the senior citizen now in that group, but it's incredible, right? Just to meet all of these people and learn from them. And now also teach what we know. It's just been an absolutely game-changing opportunity in my life.
And you were like a second gen businessman, and usually two circumstances is the idea that the first gen worked very very hard, and this is not just for yourself. I mean, whether it's Filipino families, Filipino Chinese, Filipino Indian, they work very very hard to put up a business, and they're the ones who had the hard time, right? They're the ones who went through the hardship, and by the time it gets to you, you have no you're not connected to the hardship that they went through, but rather you're enjoying the benefits of it, and they don't usually I mean, for lack of a better term, they don't usually work hard anymore, or they're not as driven as their parents were. How's it like for you? Because you did sort of come into this business, and your parents were very successful. Tell us a bit more about your journey there.
So at first, I just want to tell you, when my dad moved here in 72, the first thing he did is he sat down our house in a cage in Paco. He had like a 200-300 Betamax behind him, and he rented out movies, right? And then later on, somebody just told him, "Can you make me garments?" So he went to Divisoria, picked up fabric, found somebody to sew it, found a way to ship it, and then it just expanded from there. So really, my dad came from nothing, and I thank him every day, and he works like a horse until today.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. There were many years in between that I was just skirting, right? But what changed is I realized that how we worked in the past cannot be the same how we work today or at that time. And how I work today is not going to be the same in the future. Today, we all know that how AI is changing the game.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't adapt and we don't change, we will die.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always that continuous change that is very important for me. And for me, the biggest change for me was that I realized that I found out what I'm good at. And that was the hard thing to do, right? I wasn't the best salesman. I wasn't the best. Like, my first job was packing cartons. My second job was a merchandiser. I'd sit in the factory till 9 o'clock in the morning, pushing goods to get out and be delivered.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what I like. Finally, I learned what I like is leading people, guiding people, talking to people, helping them understand what are their strengths, right? So finally, when I found my passion, that's how I've been able to move things across. I can help people, right? Yes, they're good at their jobs, but once you find out what you're good at, that's how you move. And so far, that's been the biggest game changer for me.
Hey, his name is Chico Garcia.
And his name is Gino Killiamore.
And together, we are Only Fun.
That's right, for only $12 a month.
But if you're willing to pay, why not? No, we're from a podcast that talks about movies, TV shows. Basically, we do reviews of K-dramas, whatever is on streaming, whatever is on cinemas. We also get to occasionally interview celebrities, actors, directors,
and of course infused with our own witty brand of humor and slice of life.
Wow. I guess we don't infuse a lot.
Check it out.
one of the things that I really admire and I found very resonant with you was when we had coffee. So basically, just what happens that when Mahesh and I had our gym date, we woke up early. We had circuit training with his trainer. We would change it. Then after that one, we had coffee, and then after that one, we went to his office and had lunch, and we talked about business. But the thing I found interesting was that you actually have a ritual in the morning that you picked up, that you created yourself. I mean, it's not original, but it's something that you imbibed and made for yourself.
Correct.
Please share that one, because I think people might find that very interesting.
So I went to a talk of a very, very famous gentleman who is one of the greatest speakers I've ever listened to. And I've been blessed to listen to him a few times. His name is Warren Rustin. Okay. He talked about the 10-10-10. He said, first of all, wake up every morning and thank God you're alive. Tomorrow, there's no guarantee. So he talked about 10 minutes of quiet meditation, 10 minutes of reading positive, and 10 minutes of journaling gratitude. I tried it, couldn't figure it out. I was just not finding my way through it, right? Then I realized, okay, so first step, I think meditation is a key to clear your mind. It makes you a better person. It makes you think clearer, makes you focus. So I found a way, but everyone has their own way. I couldn't do quiet meditation. I like guided meditation. I can't do 30 minutes. I like 8 to 12 minutes. There are multiple apps out there. I don't need to mention them that you can find. That I started using one of them. I used what was the Deepak Chopra app, which is now called, it keeps changing its name, but there's Headspace. There are multiple of them. Okay, so I meditate. Right after I meditate, I read 1 page a day of a positive book. And this was the biggest game changer. So I tried to journal. I couldn't write. Didn't know what to do. Suddenly, one magic day, I wrote, "Dear girls." And I wrote to them a story of the day before. And I ended it with the line, "Loves Dad." It is crazy. I came up with an idea later on and said, what if, when I'm not here, and we're all going to go someday, what if I could be a part of my children's life, and maybe even their children's lives, for an eternity? What if you could read your story through the hands of your father in these books? And then I found a way to print pictures, and now it's a scrapbook. So I write to my children every day. And my goal, I started at about 40, is to have 40 books before I go. I'm on book 4 now. And it's just been the absolute game changer. But then something else happened. One day, I took out my phone and I said, giving gratitude, writing it in this book, I feel good. But I couldn't tell it to that person. And I wanted to. So I took a picture of it and I sent it to that person. Then I realized that, wow, the aura of the other person changed towards me. So I was like, wow, that's interesting. So now, not all the time, I would say 1 out of 4 times, I take a picture of that book, depending on who I write about, either my children, my wife, my parents, my staff, my friends, even you. I could send you that picture. I don't do it often. I'd say 1 in 4 times. But the biggest thing I've learned is that we got to live in a world of gratitude. It is just, it changes your mindset so much and makes you so much of a better, more grounded person. So this is what I do every day. I wake up, takes me about 30 minutes of a day, and it's been an absolute game changer in my life.
And another game changer for your life as well is your own health journey. And I the way I want to talk about it, because it's all relevant. I mean, your personal development that helped change your mind, and your health journey. I know you were somebody who used to party a lot, go out a lot, drink to abandon, but everything has changed for you. What was that one? And now we know, when I talk, you're very good at our health hacks. We share our health hacks with each other.
So okay, I played a lot of sports when I was younger. I went from a skinny kid to an okay, and then I went later on when I couldn't play so much sports anymore. I let go and I went to fat really fast. I'm not a tall guy, okay? I'm a short guy. I hit 200 pounds.
Wow, really? Huh?
Suddenly, so we have these health cards at work, and they come in and they do the scheduled blood test. I think in 2016 December, I failed everything on that blood test.
Wow.
Everything. And my cholesterol hit 348. And unfortunately, my staff sent that report to my wife, and she was not happy. And she said, we're going to go see a doctor now, and let's see what he has to say. I was like, okay. I mean, but I felt fine. I really felt fine. I didn't look good. I felt fine. I do not like to go to the gym. I hated it. I thought, why go to the gym? It's so boring. Let's do sports. But that I also stopped. I sat across this doctor right in front of me who was a cardiologist, and he looked at me and said, hey, you can have a heart attack tomorrow. And I'm like, what? I feel fine. I feel nothing. I have 3 children. They're babies. He's saying, no, you're going to have a heart attack. He says that the calcium buildup in your heart, we can't calculate, but if something happens and it falls, your heart will stop. You'll go into cardiac arrest, and we're not sure if we can save you. And then I can't remember the name, but he said, you know, you have 2 options. You have an A and a B. It's like the movie, The Matrix, A and a B. A, I put you on a pill. You live on this forever. B, you figure this out and you change your life. When you figure it out. So I went home. Dude, my breakfast was banana ketchup, rice, toyo calamansi, longanisa, tocino, anything and everything, dude, every morning, and a ton of it. I went home and I cried. I just cried. I just didn't know what to do, right? And then I ran into a friend, and I told him about my problem, and he said, Mahesh, I gotta teach you one trick. I go, what? What's your problem? Breakfast? Yeah. Stop breakfast. Huh? He says, go into intermittent fasting. Eat within 12 hours a day, 8 hours a day. Don't eat 16. Realized what my problem was. So I said, okay, I'll try. Then he said, get a trainer. He says, you're never going to work out. Get a trainer. You have the gym. I built the gym. It was 3 years old in my new house. I never used it.
Gathering cobwebs
It's
there.
there. It's there. I never used it, right? So I found a guy. I started working with him. You met him, right? So I've been with Oliver for, since 2017, 8 years. And when Oliver met me, Oliver said, this guy's going to last about 1 or 2 months and I'm never going to see him again. Today, I am Oliver's best client, most consistent client, based on what he tells me. I don't want to sugarcoat things. I'm not sure, but that's what he says, right? But that's it. I just said, okay, I'm going to try. I gave up all that. And then later on, I started talking and learning, and I would call myself a health nut, right? I take, I didn't believe in vitamins. I take 28 pills a day. I'm crazy, but I love it. I feel great. I've lost 50 pounds. My cholesterol went from 348 to today 122. My blood work on every scale is right on top. I never took any pills, but I feel great. And I feel like I can do so much more. So many things. And yes, there are a lot of supplements that people can take, but I know many people don't. I also am the type, I used to be like that. But hey, to each his own. I'm not forcing anybody to do it. Figure out what works for you. For me, this is working. I love it. I feel great. I'm going to continue.
And you're a businessman, so this is great for people who want to keep themselves mentally and physically sharp for business. What, if you're going to share with entrepreneurs, what are the best health hacks that you know, from the supplements to, I guess, exercise? I mean, just if you're going to share in a nutshell what you want them to know.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
The number one thing in life, in health, is the simplest thing. It's sleep. At one point in my life, I woke up from 3 to 4 a.m. every day for 1 year. Imagine me going to work and I felt like crap. I was just irritated, short-tempered, unhappy. And I didn't know what was wrong with me, right? And suddenly I just started to accept and I started meditating and I learned to sleep earlier. I used to follow maybe 10 shows. Today, I don't watch TV. I stop. I just let it all go. So for me, it's sleep, number one. It's clean eating, number two. What you put in your body is what will really be part of you, right? Protein, big key. I don't believe in a diet. I think it's just clean eating. I mean, good food doesn't have to taste bad. And for me, I'm easy. I can repeat the same food every week with no problem. I have the same breakfast every day and I don't care. It's fine. It tastes good. So why not, right? I think simplification is easy, right? I'm not saying carbs are bad. Good carbs are good. Less carbs are good. Don't have carbs at night. Don't eat 4 hours before you go to bed because that's not going to work, right? Magnesium, big key. The sun. Go sit in the sun 20 minutes a day. It will change your life. I wake up, I go out, take off my shirt, sit in the sun. It's such a big game changer.
Agree.
Walking. I walk. Last year, I walked 12,000 steps a day. This year, my average is 10,500. Walking. The simplest thing. And it works. I put a treadmill beside my bed. I put a treadmill beside my office. I just believe that accessibility is the key to health. Don't put any friction in what you want to do. You want to eat junk food? Keep it. You don't want to eat junk food? Take it out. Right? Water. Oh my God, 10 years of my life. I had 2 Cokes a day, every day, and zero water.
Wow.
Zero. Today, I'm minimum 3 liters a day. And I carry a bottle. I make sure I hit my goal. Because it's a big need. There's a book so my idol is the sleep doctor. I'll give you his name in a bit. Michael Bruce. He just wrote a new book called Sleep, Drink, Breathe. He talks about how important is sleep, how important is drinking water, not drinking the other type of drinking, and how to breathe. The 3 most basic things in life that you don't have to spend a dime on is what can change your life. It's a great book.
Fantastic. At the same time, you both follow the Glucose Goddess on Instagram.
Yeah. So, I always understood. I wore the thing. I don't need it. I'm not a diabetic, but I wanted to see, right? So she's so interesting, right? There are so many hacks out there that are so basic. Like for you, for example, we spoke about this. You were taking apple cider vinegar in the morning. And I was like, I think there's a better way. I take my apple cider vinegar as a pill together with a digestive enzyme half hour before every meal. And it helps me process food faster. As you age, let's say you have 150 grams of chicken. That's 50 grams of protein. But as you age, you don't absorb all that protein. The synthesis in your body becomes less. So these pills, apple cider vinegar, a digestive enzyme, they help the protein process better inside you so that you can absorb more of it.
That's right.
So that if you're trying to build muscle or you're trying to lose weight, it will help you. RJ, you knew me, man. I went from thin to fat. I ain't fat anymore, man. So if I can do it, I think anybody can do it.
That's right.
Anybody.
Now, I want to move a bit more in your journey. It's been interesting. We've talked about health and professional growth and personal growth. But one thing that's interesting about your professional growth, like you said, you're managing a traditional business from the family, but then you were also looking for some meaning in doing business as well, and that led you to something right now that you share that it's not as in magnitude or scale, it's not as big as what you're doing, but it's meaningful for you now, the business that you're doing. Tell us a bit more about that one.
So first, I'll tell you a little bit about what I do. So my business we are in garments manufacturing. We manufacture apparel in the Philippines, still doing it, plus other places in the world. So we have factories, we have offices in Bangladesh and in India and China. And then my second business is I import and distribute tabletop items, ceramics, glasswares, plateware, kitchen items, and we distribute to hotels, restaurants, retail as well. We work with a lot of the names that you know.
That's right.
All right, some of us are friends from the Resto PH
Yeah,
group.
a lot of restaurant brands.
Yeah,
Local
correct.
restaurant
Yeah,
brands.
correct.
Oh.
So suddenly in I can't remember this, 2017, I went to a talk. And the guy said, do what you love and you will not work a day in your life. So it's not that I don't love what I do. It is a part of my life and I do enjoy it. But I was like, I'm for 40 years old. Why can't I love what I do? And then I asked myself, what do you love? Dude, you've been to my house. So the story about me is I'm a toy collector. I have a museum at home and I like to collect really old toys that bring me back to my childhood. So I've always been a kid at heart, right? So I dress up. I don't care, right? I match my watch to my clothes and I dress up the way I want. I live my life the way I want. Nobody can tell me how to dress up or what to do. It's just my style, the way I like to live. So I suddenly said that I enjoy toys. What if, right? And we lived in a world where a lot of the kids were going to digital technology. The iPad is there. Okay, I'm not saying it's bad, but it's part of life. When I was a kid, playing with toys is where my imagination came from. Things I do today, when you play with He-Mans or robots and things like that, you're making up stories in your head, right? You're actually dreaming up these conversations, correct? And I did that. And I'm a big believer in toys. I think toys are critical in a child's development. It's important for them to play. And unfortunately, we live in a world today where that's less and less, but it's very important. So I got on a plane. I said, forget it. At that moment, I wrote to somebody from Pink Fong who was Baby Shark. And they were and suddenly they replied back, we're in the Philippines and we're doing a mall tour. Would you like to meet? I said, okay. I went, I met them. And they're like, we just started a small toy business out of Korea and we're looking for suppliers. So I shipped a container from Korea. I went to SM.
You're looking for distributors.
Yeah, they were looking for distributors. I went to SM. I met with them and suddenly they allowed me to distribute Ping Fong in Toy Kingdom. That was my first entry. And then I later on flew to a trade show for toys. And I walked into a booth of a company called Zuru. And, it was a 2-story booth. Today, they're the 6th biggest toy company in the world, right? And that one toy I picked up called Five Surprise just became a worldwide phenomenon. And I'm sitting today and I'm looking around me and I now distribute different toys for different brands. I have an NBA toy. What a dream. I'm a big NBA fan. I have an NBA toy. I have a Transformers toy. I have a Teenage Mutant toy. I'm going to be doing Jurassic Park. I never had these opportunities, right? Today, people are reaching out to me. Hey, Mash, would you be interested in this? It's been a long journey. I was nobody in the toy. When I walked the show for the first time and I told people who I am and what I wanted to do, they looked at me like I was crazy. They're like, why do you want to enter the toy business? It's hard. I go, what's easy? Nothing. Why not? And I've turned it into a passion business. I have a lot of fun. And it's grown over the years. And it just brings me joy. And sometimes you just need joy. It doesn't need to be big, but you need to enjoy it. So it's been a great journey. I continue. I'm about to distribute what I'm super excited about is FIFA toys.
That's right. But my son, he really enjoyed the Ronaldo figure that he got, the Ronaldo action figure.
Yeah.
He's placed it in a special pedestal in the house where we can always look at it.
So now we're in over 100 stores nationwide. We work with the 2 biggest giants in the country, Toys R Us, Toy Kingdom. And, I'm so appreciative of the chance that they gave me. And I look forward to growing this even further in the future.
Wow, fantastic. I really appreciate, how much joy and passion that you put into everything you're doing in your business, in your family, in your own life. And want to take one more step back and talk about as a businessman, as an entrepreneur, there are opportunities because usually people they think nowadays if they're not wearing their entrepreneurial lenses, they can't realize what are the businesses emerging here right now that they can get into. Some people feel like they're limited, but what are you seeing as opportunities emerging where aspiring entrepreneurs can still make a mark here in the country or get into? From your perspective, because you're seeing so many different businesses.
At the end of the day, I think so recently I went to a YPO event, and I think there's a lot of opportunity in AI. I mean, but AI really can help every business. If you're not thinking about how AI can help you, you're making a mistake.
Mhm.
You got to figure out, like, I was reading this book called The AI Driven Leader. You don't ask AI one question. You got to start talking to AI and start having conversations with it to help you realize the potential of what it is. That's A. The second thing I look at is health and wellness. People are drinking less alcohol in the world today. People are very health conscious. I think this is a space, it's not anymore about medicine. It's about prevention. And I think that's a massive space that's going to become a multi-trillion-dollar industry in the very near future that I think everybody should, look at. I think currently we live in a world where, we're a consumer-driven economy, right? So, still products for people, I still think are going to be very interesting. People need their toys. People need their food and beverage. People need their home items. I think being a consumer-driven economy, I still see that as nothing can replace that. There's so many things that can be replaced in the future in different businesses that maybe because of AI, but AI cannot replace a child playing with a toy. It's not going to happen. AI cannot replace the products that you're putting on your table. It's impossible, right? So I think product-driven business is still a great way to grow your business.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And finally, after all the learnings that you've had over the years when it comes to business, what hacks would you like to share with up-and-coming entrepreneurs, people even running their own businesses that you've learned over the years that, you wish you knew when you were starting off?
Okay, this one's not so hard. I always tell my people, number one, 2 people are smarter than 1. 3 people are smarter than 2. 4 people are smarter than 3. Number 1, if you've got an issue, don't deal with it alone. Have a conversation, present it, discuss it. Number 2, I have a very hard time because when I walk into a room and when we have a problem and I am biting my lip, I'm like, I can just solve this problem right now. But what's the point? Don't solve it. Bite your lip. Leaders speak last. It may take more time in the start. You guide them to the solution. But I promise you that 3 or 4 times that you go through that process will save you 50 times later on when they finally realize that they can do it on their own. Sometimes the people that are part of our organizations are scared to take responsibility and make decisions because you're always making the decision. But once you let them realize that they can, they will. So people are really our biggest assets. And for me, that's the biggest key. You want to get things done, you need good people. So you have to bite your lip many times because giving them the solution ain't going to be the way forward for them.
Got that.
Yeah.
Mahesh, thanks so much. It's been a quick hour, but I really appreciate all the insights that you shared with everybody over here. Mahesh, thanks for joining us here on the podcast.
Thank you.
Any last words? How can people collaborate with you if they're looking forward to seeing what they can do together with you?
Reach out to me. I'm on Instagram, MP Mirpuri. We're happy to service the restaurant business. We have pretty much everything. We work with the likes of Mesa and Manams and many different hotels. And yeah, if you want to reach out to me and see how we can collaborate, we also do a lot of uniforms for people and garments. So we're happy to help any aspiring entrepreneurs that need us. So we're here. We're here to support the economy, and we look forward to helping the Philippines grow.
Thanks so much, Mahesh. And thanks for joining us on the RJ Ledesma Podcast.
The opinions of podcast creators, hosts, and guests are not necessarily reflective of the official stance of the Pod Network Entertainment, its hosts, or other network programs. The content created by the people behind the podcast is personal and not meant to harm any religion, ethnicity, group, organization, company, or individual.